to be talking about the Banter Ranter episode of the week, which is episode number 2. We're going to be going over some of the stuff that I mentioned on the Instagram account. That's my own, Kdossy, Kdossy, or even Bedouin Banter. Thank you guys for clicking in and enjoying the show as you did the last one. We did have a response from Anrami last time, so hopefully it seems like the last episode, which is not the one for Bedouin Ranter, but the last Banter Buddies one is going to be on Anrami this week. So yeah, look forward to that. I'll be putting out an announcement for everybody up there when it's actually there. But for now, we do get to enjoy our session today where we talk about the stuff in the week. And don't forget, I have also posed questions to some of you on Instagram, so you can actually do that on YouTube as well. I'm going to be monitoring the chat when I can and finding out what you guys want to talk about. I do have 2 topics for the day. One is going to be leading into the more important one, the one about creativity in the Middle East and whether we reward risk-taking. And by that, I mean like generally the market, people around you, family, friends, anything that involves creative people actually getting some income or some kind of reward for taking the risk by doing anything that is, you know, whether it's weird, funny, provocative. And we're going to talk about some of the stuff as well that people kind of tend to gravitate towards. I did mention it last time that creatives have an ability, especially in the Middle East, of always wanting to be provocative, always wanting to be challenging radical ideas, always wanting to be pushing the boundaries of what is considered offensive or non-offensive or provocative. What was it? What's the word? We used it before. Subversive. Something that's you know, out there to kind of, I guess, challenge your thoughts and ideas. And I feel like that's the only type we get, the only real type of risk taking we get. And I feel like that's the one that it's been overused. And it's not taking into consideration people's needs and requirements in this culture. But before we get into that, I'll show you my favorite part of all of this. I swear this is the one that I didn't expect to be real, and it turns out it is real. Yes, woke superheroes are a real thing now. Yes, this is actually true. I double checked. I went into Marvel's website, I went to a bunch of places, and when it first came out, I thought immediately this is an April Fool. April Fool. But yeah, no, they're real. This is Marvel's new take on woke superheroes and woke culture. They've been continuing this trend. It used to be a lot more subtle before, to the point that people would actually tell me, they're like, hey, is this actually real? Is woke culture actually a problem? And I remember the first signs of people thinking that it's gone too far, especially with the younger generation, was in 2017. Back in the old Apache helicopter days, the memes from that era. And now it's just fully and overtly, blatantly in your face as far as woke corporate culture goes. And these are some of the superheroes involved. So yeah, the names of Marvel's new superheroes, especially the 2 that you see on the left-hand side, the ones that are cradling each other. The one that's in magenta, is that what that color is? Magenta, is it pink? We're going to call it pink for the sake of being, I guess, clear. His name is Safe Space. And you could tell that he's keeping Snowflake safe. These are not made-up names. Oh, well, they are, but they're not meant to be a joke. They're meant to be real. These are meant to be taken seriously. The names of Marvel's new superheroes. Yes, I'm not making this up. Now, the new non-binary characters are part of the New Warriors comic series. New Woke Warriors, as was calling them earlier. Snowflake and Safe Space were created by Luciano Vecchio and Daniel Kibblesmith. Kibblesmith explained the new superheroes on Marvel's own website, where he said they're hyper-aware of modern culture and optics, and they see their superheroics as a post-ironic meditation on using violence to combat bullying. It's this idea that these are terms that get thrown around on the internet and they don't see as derogatory. They take those words and kind of wear them as badges of honor. Okay, fair enough. So Safe Space and Snowflake are trying to reverse the connotations associated with those 2 names. It's no longer an insult if we own it, right? Problem is, apparently the LGBT community feels that this is actually an insult. A lot of people that would be considering themselves on the hyper left feel like this is a kind of unusual take. Let's have another image of them right up there. It's an unusual expectation to have that people would take this seriously. Why would they? You're portraying them in the most parody-driven way possible. This would be considered a joke if I did this as a comedian, or if anybody did this, they would be called out on being insensitive, or I don't know, offensive. What else could I call this? Sarcastic, maybe? Am I sarcastically defending the liberal left by saying that I'm on board with woke culture? Because that's what this feels like. It feels like creativity that is trying too hard. Trying too hard to please something that they don't even know or understand. And that's why some people in the LGBT community felt like it was just too on the nose. And this has been my issue. I remember talking about this in previous podcast episodes. This is exactly what I mean when I bring up the fact that, you know, if you want to push a creative, let's call it agenda, even though agenda has been considered like a negative thing these days. If you want to push something that's a creative agenda, at least make it believable. Make it something that I can digest alongside a story, alongside believable characters that fit into society. Like, this is just overtly telling me all I care about is my image and my brand and my label. Identify me as such. It's not somebody that's saying, hey, yeah, I'm gay. What does that have to do with the fact that I want to protect people from evil? But I am gay, by the way. I'll just shoot out some laser beams and later on you can see me suck some cock if you want, but I just happen to be gay. Or I happen to be a transsexual, or I happen to be an alien. It's not my label, bro. Don't identify me as such. That's like if they wanted to make an Arab superhero, or even an Arab character in any movie, they just have to show you how wise we are. We always speak in these like profound, long scripts of dialogue that explain how the white person is uneducated. Yeah, sure, you are. Maybe in a lot of ways, but we're not that wise. We're not that cryptic either. I'm not Abu Hazard from Diablo. I'm not here to make you feel safe, Lawrence of Arabia. I'm not going to cradle you in the arms of my ancient wisdom and take you around, I don't know, the sands of Iram, where we will both journey together. That would make me feel like that's offensive. Just make a dude. Pick any one of the different Arab cultures out there. The thousands of different labels that you could identify as an Arab, because we are, as I said last time, Pan-Arabia. If you picked one of them and you amalgamated them into like Aladdin, you just focused us into this digestible drip of a label just so, people in the West can relate to us, then you've not helped me out. This is you jumping on board some social justice warrior agenda, some creativity to make yourself feel better, to make yourself feel like, yeah, you're on the right side of history. You're just taking a bet that this horse is going to work in your favor. And it doesn't seem like it is. It seems like everybody feels like this is just, nobody wanted to stand up against this. I feel bad. I forgot to look into the other ones, but this is one of the favorite ones is, I think the captain of the team. She's overweight, plus size, whatever you want to call it. Susceptible to coronavirus. Yeah, that's the thing, by the way. Apparently COVID can have extreme negative consequences for people that are overweight. So she's not going to need Magneto to take her out. It's a little bit of that China virus. I love when Trump did that. China. He likes emphasizing that part. But yeah, that is an unusual thing for me. And this is the part of creative risk-taking that I feel like is going to lead into the topic I wanted to talk about, which is you're taking this risk. You're deciding, hey, I want to speak out. I want to put something out there for people to feel is special. And I feel like it's important for people to understand this. So instead of me working my way through your brain and making you see the relationships between different kinds of ideas out there, I'm just going to go with the lazy, blunt writing. Somebody told me, it was like, oh, why are you bothered by this? Why is it so important? Why are so many people out there so bothered by this? And I don't want to take the advantage of this situation because I mentioned it before. There's a lot of people on YouTube that like to use the hatred behind woke culture, like the fact that we are annoyed by it. Some geeks, some nerds, some other people in the freaking world, and they want to use that to kind of generate clicks and results. And I get where they're coming from, but also it feels like they're also fishing for stuff. So recently, I've been watching Star Trek Picard, and they're trying to convince me that people hate the show. And I don't feel like people hate the show. I feel like there's mixed results. I feel like people are treating it no differently than any other show. But there's no reason to ham up the old Star Trek used to be better. There's no reason to do that. There's no reason to go, yes, and my life is being taken away from me. No, all you're doing is you're giving enough ammunition for people on the extreme side of liberal politics to believe that they're prosecuted or persecuted. Persecuted, sorry, that's the right word. You want them to believe that there are these hardcore extremists that are hating them for who they are and what they are, when that's not the case. I feel like it's very important to make the distinction that no, bad writing is bad writing. Whenever there's a sci-fi show that overuses time travel, people tend to get annoyed because lazy writers will use that to kind of get themselves out of consequences. The same way Marvel freaking resurrects any hero it wants and brings them back from the dead. Ergo Tony Stark, maybe with genitals, maybe not, maybe with female genitals. In any case, there's a formula here, and I feel like some people miss out on it. And they go just for the agenda, they go for the political leanings, because everything's apparently defined by America's political structure. Why does the rest of the world have to suffer through your political process? How is that important to me? I can see between left and right, and so can the rest of the world. Just because the US feels like, hey, our consumers can be dumb enough to just go red versus blue, doesn't mean that's how it affects the rest of us. And we're a big market, by the way. Maybe not the Middle East, but the rest of the world. Sorry about the contrast shifts. Keep telling you this camera just is weird sometimes. I think it's the lighting in the room as well. Here we go. We're going into risk-taking. I'll get the graphic up there. The innovation equation. Innovation equals creativity times risk-taking. So, when it came to the snowflake equation, the snowflake safe space. By the way, safe space apparently projects shields and barriers to protect Snowflake and others from being harmed by YouTube comments. Now, I made that one up, but I'm assuming that's the idea behind it. Oh my god, that was such genius. Apparently, that's the risk-taking. That they're taking... Oh, didn't silence my phone. Great. Such a professional. Do. So, as I was saying, they think that somehow this is them taking a risk. When we both know that nobody's going to challenge it besides, us angry internet trolls. The majority of people don't give a fuck. The average person is never going to hear about these superheroes. Marvel is struggling with comic book sales anyway. Don't know what I was doing there. Turning it to Iago! Marvel is struggling with their comic book sales. They're struggling with a lot of stuff. All print is in general. Digital is doing amazing. And by that I mean digital comics are doing a lot better, I feel like, than... I feel, as if I've looked into the stats. I feel like they are. No, but I've heard this from people before, that they do really well compared to comic books these days. But yeah, if you're struggling, if you're that desperate, that's not a risk. That's you getting on your knees and sucking any cock that comes your way. I'm sorry. I apologize for the language, but you know what I mean. They're just appreciating, they're saying, hey, you know what? I am going to put myself out there. I'm going to take this risk. I feel like I'm on the wave of the future. I'm going to decide that this is the winning team, when really it's not a winning team versus other team type of scenario for a lot of people. It's simply, is this inclusive of the world we've created? Does this make sense in the rest of the world? Or is this something that's trying to be, shoved down everybody's throat, whether or not it makes sense? Anybody's just asking for, like, anybody's saying, listen, just buy me dinner first, and I will accept you bending me over and plowing me with your safe space and snowflake character. I will accept it. Just buy me dinner first. Woo me. Be a sociopath. Doesn't even have to be genuine. But this is them going past This is them going past this point of saying, "Hey, I'm gonna drop the pretenses. I'm not even gonna try and pretend that I care about your feelings or your history growing up with this or enjoying it over the years or the amount of seriousness it took for some of us to develop the stories that you guys have put out there. Like, and I don't mean by us as in the consumers. I mean, but people like creatives, people that put in the time and effort and energy to want to be taken seriously because they were working on comic books instead of novels. Because they decided, I'm going to be a comedian instead of, I don't know, an abstract artist. Because they at least can get, a little bit of recognition as far as, their art form. But when somebody takes a risk in creating a vast, diverse, in-depth, colorful, deeper story that seems rich, it seems like it's based off of these characters that have different personalities, backgrounds that make sense, that grow over time and develop into something that we can feel like is real. It's a person that could be standing in front of me. I could be talking to that person. When that happens on the level of something like a superhero movie or anything else, it just elevates the, I hate using that freaking sentence, elevates the art. But that's the truth. It does elevate the art in a lot of ways, and for a lot of people, I feel like they don't get that. And I'm losing my train of thought here. They end up degrading the process because they just want to force something down your throat. Fair enough, do it. But that's why this equation is up there for the rest of us that do want to add the part that matters, which is the creativity. If you want to sell somebody an idea that's challenging and subversive, then you have to put in a lot of effort to make it believable. If you want to put a dragon into the story, something that doesn't exist in real life, you better make it seem real. You better make it believable, or else somebody's going to look at you like, what the fuck are you reading? That's how I felt, by the way, about anime and a lot of Japanese manga for a while. Because at a younger age, I was okay with the level of character development in the stories because I was shallow. I was a bit of an edgelord, which is fine. It's nothing to be looked down on. I'm not bashing people that are into that. But after a while, I wanted something that was more recognizable as far as a full-fledged human being goes, in a journey, in an experience, as a character. And anime and manga weren't doing that for me. So I felt like creativity was dying in a lot of ways. Creativity was kind of tossed out the window for the sake of edginess. For the sake of saying, hey, here's something that looks cool. Here's something that provokes you on a surface level, but doesn't go any deeper. Here's a cock right there, veiny. It's a beautiful, shiny, veiny cock for you to look at in the picture. Well, does the cock have a story? Is there something behind this magical dick? Or is it just there to attract the attention on the front of the page? It's kind of like, I don't know, it's like people that overuse, the superficial means by which they attract people's attention in any field, like makeup. There's no harm, there's nothing wrong with a girl that goes out there and dresses up nice and is seductive, provocative. I'm not going to call her a hoe. Nothing wrong with that. But if that's all you are, you don't get to have respect. And by that I mean like you're going to have to take an extra step on top of that to earn more out of life. And I'm not saying you can demand respect. You earn it, right? So everybody has a different level. For me, my level might be very low. I'm saying that. Generally, it is. I ask some of my friends, and they'll tell you Khaled is happy with most things. Like, my friends are very critical about a lot of movies that we watch, a lot of things that we read, video games we play, or even people we meet. And I'm the naive person in the group. I'm the one that tends to let people into my life and then find out that they're going to, take it that big shiny cock and bend me over. So I'm actually willing to give people the benefit of the doubt. But in a lot of these scenarios, if you're putting on the makeup or you're the most shallow plastic person in the world and you're doing squats on Twitch, then just talk. Talk to me. Show me something. Like I said before, like a conversation at dinner. Buy me dinner. Prove to me that there's something there to work with. For my brain to be able to digest it and say, yes, there's something deeper to this person. They've gone and experienced something that I feel like is human. It's a real human journey that they're going through. It's just in this label. It's in this label that people have judged and called superficial. Makeup or short dresses or, I don't know, guys in tank tops that look douchey, that wear affliction shirts, or used to anyway, or Van Dutch caps. Whatever it is that you are labeled as, that people would consider either douchey or trashy or anything that is, marginalized. If you give me something to work with, I'm going to take that and then I'm going to use it to get some value. And I'll say that's something I can learn from that person. That's something I can experience and absorb from that person. But if all you are is this thing that pretends like it represents an ideology or some form of creativity, it does. Matruk's saying this episode has some out of context gold. It does. I don't give a fuck. Ask me 20 years from now if I give a fuck. But what I'm saying is that I feel like there's a lot of people that forget that part. That you have to go down the deep end in some way or another to be able to justify the glam and the glitz. And in a lot of ways, I feel like this is what's happened with our culture, with our economics, with our societies, is that we have everything geared up towards fake it till you make it. But the whole idea of fake it till you make it is that you want to make it to the point where there is some depth to whatever it is you're putting out there. Whether it's an economy, you're freaking selling debt, or you're giving people loans, mortgages, whatever you want to fucking subprime mortgages from 2008. If you're making art, if you're like, hey, I'm going to make shitty movies because this is what I have to do at the moment because I'm going to make my coup de grace. My final movie is going to take all the work I've put in from the crappy ones before, where I've earned some credibility, I've churned through the mainstream stuff, and now I'm going to make something that is meaningful. That was fake it till you make it. And by the way, I don't want to judge people for going into freaking safe space. Let me go back to that crap. Let's do this. Hold up. I don't want to judge people for this. I don't want to. I'm in radio. Do you think I am happy playing Justin Bieber's fucking Yummy every day? Do you think I wake up in the morning and feel proud about that? Do you think when I decide that I'm going to put up, the context in the show and the content that they want, that people in the Middle East want, the people on this island want, do you feel like I'm doing it for myself or for the sake of artistic, superiority? No, I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to get some value out of the experience. And one day I'm going to take any value that I get, I'm going to add it to some depth, some kind of creative gold that comes out of it. And that's the part of this that doesn't make sense to me. Where does this go? This whole thing at the very beginning is the comic book equivalent of a fart. And not even a fart that's like a good, healthy, wholesome, I eat fava beans and lentils and quinoa. No, this is, I've eaten nothing but plastic, Diet Cola, not even like regular Coke, just Diet Coke, and gummy bears. That is my diet, which is literally my diet. You can ask Matruk. But that is it. There's no substance to it. And you're shoving it down people's throat. And in the process, you're losing the respect and the credibility of the actual marginalized communities that need to be recognized and listened to. It doesn't matter if I believe in what they say or not. They have to be taken with a grain of salt and an open mind and heard out. And when corporations do this crap, it's bad for everybody. I guess that's my point. That is risk taking. So, innovation, creativity, and risk taking. That's how you get the innovation anyway. Creativity times risk taking. So, I feel like in the Middle East, there's a lot of people that are so obsessed whenever they do make content. What do you say, Matruk? Fake it till you make it is the most poisonous advice you can get. You can't build a solid house with a shaky foundation. You can. Actually, I disagree with you on that one. I feel like you can. You can because what people define as fake it till you make it, sometimes to me, is people that are just after material wealth. There are two types. Because unfortunately, on the surface, you can't tell one from the other. But there are two types. There's the type that I'm going to fake it till I make it, as in I'm going to go out there and do this in a way that I don't understand, but I'm going to try to understand. I'm going to try to figure out. And all that matters is confidence. That's one way of saying fake it till you make it. What it really means is just build up your confidence and put yourself out there. And eventually it will come. But then the negative part, of the actual bad version of that, is the one where it's like, hey, I'm faking it till you make it. No, that person is not interested in making it. That person is interested in, I am going to put myself out there just to politically maneuver my way into success. I'm going to strategically and pragmatically move things around and with nothing other than that. I'm going to play a chess game, which is fair enough. That's one way of reaching to that goal. It's like, are you going to judge a politician if they maneuver their way to the top and actually create something out of it in the end? No, especially if they do manage to do some good. I grant you the majority won't, because that's the trick, right? You maneuver your way to the top, and by the time you get to the top, you've got so many strings and hooks attached, there is no way for you to make any decisions anyway. So I feel like there is maybe a healthy limit of it, just enough. Or maybe, the ability to spot your own ego and realize, hey, do I have to go that high up to make a change? Maybe I can fake it and make it till this point, and then, turn around, take the money I made, take the experience I made, find the people that I've met, I've networked with, and create something beautiful, help out in charities, whatever it is that you want to do. So there's a lot of people that would say, Bill Gates, he didn't fake it, obviously, but he did freaking maneuver his way like a mofo to the top. He hammered people. He went after people. He stole shit. But now, maybe he feels bad about it, and that's why he's trying to help Africa. He's like, if I can fucking save Africa, if I can get rid of AIDS and measles and everything else, it'll make up for all the shitty stuff I've done. All of these things are tools, but they're very dangerous tools. They're like fucking lightsabers. One slip and you stab yourself. Or in this case, what is it? What do they call that? I forgot the name, the term of cauterizing yourself with flames or whatever. But yeah, it's a tough one. That's why people say, avoid playing that game. Avoid the political stuff. Avoid the misering, the maneuvering, the over the top ruthless pragmatism, because it's so easy to fall. It's so easy to convince yourself that you're the shit and you can make these decisions because you are who you are. And you forget the purpose. You forget the point that you set out to create in the first place. Yeah. So let's take this back to the Middle East. Because I feel like there's a lot of things in the Middle East that people don't reward. Because this is risk-taking. This is a huge freaking risk. For some of them anyway, in a specific context. Maybe not for Marvel. Definitely for these artists. And being taken in their communities. But if you did something like this in the Middle East, you might be doing good. in a different context that's worth doing. Because these communities are marginalized. They are at risk. Now, could you have done it in a way that isn't blam in your face? Yeah. But can you, if we're not talking about this kind of activism, let's say you're not into creative activism or creativity that is activism, and you're just all about putting risk out there and deciding, I'm going to try a new kind of content. I'm going to try to, form a new kind of band, a new kind of genre of music, a new kind of movie making in the Gulf, in the Middle East. And there are only 3 types out there. And most people will tell you follow that type. Why aren't you falling into this category? Why aren't you using this font? Why aren't you using this format to create your music or create your show? Create whatever it is, your identity, your branding. And you'll notice that most people will get intimidated by that thinking. Even though we live in the age of the internet. Even though you can see a million other cultures out there, a million other formats that are being used, successful ones as well, that have innovated new things, new ideas, new capabilities, and it doesn't seem to affect us. We still go, oh, no. There's only a few ways to do this in the Gulf. There's only this limitation. So don't take the risk because you're not going to get rewarded. And the truth is you aren't. I think you aren't. Most of the time, you're not going to necessarily get rewarded. But here's the thing. If you can manage to make your safety net real, and by that I mean you're one of the few people out there that have the liquidity, the finances, the support, whether they're from family or friends, any kind of leverage that you can take and make into this the safety net that keeps your normal everyday life secure. You can pay your rent, you can pay your bills, you can feed yourself, you can take care of your loved ones. If you have that, you have what comedians in the States call go fuck yourself money. Or anything that can tell you to tell other people to go fuck themselves. And all you care about is putting your craft out there and learning from your own mistakes. Then at some point, you're going to get better. And at some point, you're going to hit this level of mastery of your craft or your thinking, whatever the hell it is you're doing, that's going to reward you because you're going to explode into this critical mass. We're not going back into dicks. I like how this contrast thing all goes up every time I say dick. Is it doing it? No, it's not. There it is. It's doing it. But my point is that, once you hit that critical mass, once the event horizon is there and you're sucked into this world of I can innovate. I can combine cultures. I can create stories. I can make new business models. Because I'm so in tune with the theory crafting and the application. And that means not only do I understand the science behind my own craft and my own discipline, but I also understand how to apply it in the real world. And I know how it affects people. And I understand the greater context of the world I live in, whether that's the Middle East or anywhere else. And the cultural context. And then I look for the opportunity in time. And that means the moment in time where it's perfect, it's there, it's for me to grab. And by that I mean I saw this happen with my mom and a bunch of other people recently, specifically women from Saudi. And by that I mean there are people out there that will recognize that there's a political tide moving. Let's say you recognize, hey, I'm a girl. I'm from Saudi. I've started my own boxing gym. All of a sudden, there's this demand for entrepreneurs that are women from the Middle East to show that they're out there, to promote this political kind of leaning that the world is going towards. You can say that, hey, that leaning is not genuine. That the people doing it are no different than the corporate overlords at Marvel that want you to believe in safe space and Snowflake. But the truth is that you're taking advantage of a tide. to make yourself noticeable after you've cultivated all the things I've mentioned. So that's the depth. That's you not being shallow. You're not faking it till you make it. You've developed all these skill sets. You've learned your craft. You've understood it from the theory side of things to the application and everything else I mentioned. And now the opportunity's there. History has provided you the context for you to rise and shine. And out of the thousands of people that might have reached your level, let's assume there are thousands, I'm willing to bet you only 5 will ever recognize the moment and put themselves out there. And that's how those people kind of succeed and make their way in the world and become these like staple household names. Unfortunately, a lot of times if you are going towards the political leanings and the tides of, hey, we're now into finding not just Saudi women, now we want to find the next Chinese rapper, or, because Hollywood is all about China these days, If you missed your tide, or even if you jumped on it and you took advantage of it whilst it's there, then there is a very big chance that that's going to last a year and a half at most, a year. I was talking to a friend of mine about this, and he knows what I'm talking about. If you missed it, or even if it's gone and you did take advantage of it, there's going to be a level of you having to be responsible for yourself, right? And reinventing yourself, or just not caring about the fact that it's moved on, recognizing it for what it is. And I feel like not enough people in the Middle East notice that when they do that, all of a sudden, you are the format. You are the structure that everybody will follow, copy, and then at some point look at you and say, you guys, this is what you should be doing. Why are you not using his font? Why are you not using his branding? Why aren't you using his style of promoting YouTube channels? Why aren't you using his style of putting out music? That is the format. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. That is the way things get locked in. It's like, I can't remember who it was. It was a tech philosopher. Is it Lanier? Or I can't remember his freaking name. I'm about to go into philosophy. And he was talking about how things can get locked in tech, even though they're not the most efficient, just because of the nature of how something is locked in. And by that, he talked about, like, you could be going into the future, like 10,000 years into the future, and you can witness somebody in a freaking starship sitting in front of the massive colony of people that are in this other quadrant of the galaxy, freaking with commerce and cybernetics and robots and freaking the Matrix all over the place. And then he gets a message, and the beep that comes out would still be MIDI. It would still use that file format because it got locked in. That is the one we use. That is the one we will always use. That is the one that has always been used. Why do we use it? Nobody knows. Don't ask questions. And if that does get locked in, it doesn't mean that it got locked in because it was the most efficient one or the best one. Sometimes things get locked in just because it's easier. You got this. Okay, I saw you. You're the guy that knew how to promote yourself. Therefore, you're gonna get locked in. That's it. That's why there's a lot of comedians and artists that struggle to get recognized when they're of a specific ethnicity in the States. A good example would be Ken Jeong, the guy that was from, what was it called? The Hangover. Mr. Chang. Ken Jeong, after Community, popped up everywhere. He was the go-to Asian guy. He got locked in. He was freaking MIDI. Locked into every movie, every role, doesn't matter. Korean, Chinese, Filipino. He would be everything. He was freaking teaching Spanish in Community. I think he at one point claimed he was Mexican. I'm not sure, but don't quote me on that, but it could be the case. The point is, you listen to other Asian American comics talking about him at the time. You go back, because now he's no longer everywhere, but if you go back, you'll notice them saying that they can't compete because once they have their one Asian guy and he gets locked in, very difficult to get another guy. There's that second guy, I can't remember his name, he's Korean. I think he's the only other one. He's the guy that played Kim Jong-un in what was his name's movie? Rogan's movie with Franco. Is it Dictator? I don't know. I can't remember the name of the movie. But yeah, he's another guy that got locked in for a while. So it's tough. And that happens to everything. I feel like in the Middle East, we've amplified that effect. It doesn't match. Because if you're a very small community in a population of people, I can understand it. You're a small economy, you're a small population. Therefore, the chances of having a diverse set of skills or content or business people or innovators is always going to be limited. There's only so much that people can digest. Because it's no fault of anybody. It's just the freaking system grinding people left and right. And we're gonna want our Pepsi and our Coke. That's it. That's all I want. Those two. Don't confuse me with some other freaking third shit. I don't want it. Keep life simple, please. But usually, when you have population, you have a huge economy, the tastes tend to vary. Because you have now niche communities that you could call niche, but really they're in the hundreds of thousands. So if you had that, and you had, I got a freaking ton of gas today. I ate a fuck ton of bamia from yesterday. I think it's just not sitting right. It still hasn't left my system. It's the bamia demon. So what I'm saying is that if that happens, and you are left out to dry because you're wondering, like, hey, these niches, where are they? Where are the 100,000 people that are going to enjoy this content or going to want to do business in this way or are going to enjoy or appreciate or even invest in this kind of a business model? Where are they? Well, unfortunately, I can't seem to get a straight answer out of anybody about this, but it seems like they're there. They're just not as financially visible. Because you will see a niche streamer, a niche content creator. You will see a niche band rise to success within their own communities. But they'll never find the mainstream appeal. And I feel that's because there are still some overlords, some dinosaurs, whose egos are creating and controlling the content that is shown out there, even though the population size doesn't justify it. There should be, at this point, you look at the metal community in the Middle East, metal has been around since fucking forever. The fan base is huge. The communities are massive. Their support for one another is massive. The mainstream appeal of it is massive. You would think there would be one hardcore heavy metal show on NBC. Just one. Even if it airs at 11 p.m. or 3 in the morning, whatever it is. But then you have the control. It's not dictated necessarily by finances or numbers. And that's where I feel like we have a small difference when it comes to rewarding risk takers. We don't reward them financially in the way that we should, even though the numbers say that they should. Even though you could say, hey, there is a population of people out there that would be interested in this. The numbers do reflect this. It's just that we have a lack on both sides. The lack of the producers willing to take the risk financially. God damn this gas. And we have a lack of the risk takers themselves believing in themselves and lasting long enough to actually be innovative and create something new. Oy vey, I'm tired as hell. That is it, I think. All right. And this is just a free-form rant at this point about these two topics. I thought like keeping it a little bit narrow and picking something that's relatable to one another would at least give me some little train to move down. So sorry if it's been confusing. I think that's the most coherent I've been under the current circumstances of gas and lack of sleep. Right, done with the risk taking. Go away. Now, the Q&A part. And as I said, on the chat, you can ask questions if you'd like, even though I think there's only 2 people in the live chat. There's always like the 40, the 50 that watch later on. And then a few episodes have actually hit the hundreds on the audio stream, but the YouTube is so fickle. It's so weird like that. All right, so I have a question from somebody, and it was about something unrelated to the topic, but I like it. Matruk, first of all, I can't answer the question about Tiger King, just because it's spoiler alert, But yes, to you, I'm going to just say yes. All right, this is from somebody who says, advice on how to redeem your reputation in a close-knit community. Okay, now I know who this person is, of course, and I know where they're coming from, and I know their story. Even though I personally don't want to take sides in any of the stuff I've heard. It's been unusual. It's been a difficult one to parse out just because it's from a different generation of people that care about different things compared to what I care about. So I've always distanced myself from the whole thing unless when it came close to me. That's when I was like, just keep me out of it. Is that my phone or is that my laptop? I need to freaking mute stuff. What's it saying? Yeah, so I felt like with this question, how do you redeem yourself from a community that has somehow shunned you, ostracized you, misrepresented you? Well, the first thing you have to recognize is what I tell myself and I tell other people that have been down this route all the time. If you have an unusual amount of people that are picking on you, say Carlos Mencia. Carlos Mencia was accused thousands of times of stealing jokes, all right? Amy Schumer has as well. Who was it as well? I forgot the third person I was going to name, but let's say just do those 2 examples. Amy Schumer come a couple of times from a few people. Generally, not many. Most of the time, it can be a misunderstanding. They're out of context. It's not as simple as people make it out to be. It never is in life, where somebody says, oh, you've been stealing comedy jokes or bits or whatever you want to call it. But if there's a ton of people like Mencia, it's right. They could be jealous of you. They could hate you for how you've succeeded, even though you've put fuck all effort into it. Maybe you have. Maybe we don't understand the effort. Maybe we don't understand what you went through. But at the end of the day, if there are thousands upon people, and maybe not thousands in this specific scenario that the person asking me about, but let's say there's a bunch of people all accusing you of the same thing. You have to first recognize, is there any truth to any of it? Because you can be either two types of people. The person that is recognizing that, hey, you've been ostracized, you've been marginalized, you've been put out there, you've been burned at the stake, you've been called a witch, you've been called, somebody that is a heretic. You will never be part of this community. There's a lot of scenarios where that is just somebody who's tarnished your reputation, who's taken your standing in the community and dipped it in toxic acid or tarred and feathered you for the sake of politics and wanting power or be hating on you, whatever the scenario is. But even those people, those spin doctors, they can't spin something that isn't based on some kind of truth. Because the majority of people, even if they don't know anything, they tend to not take sides. The majority of people want to stay out of conflict, the same way I described myself in the beginning. They just want to go, hey, just keep me out of it. I don't want to be involved in it. That's the default person. And anybody that's actually a hater either has his own problems or he has experienced something in you that is real that makes it now easy for that person, that politician, that spin doctor, that person that genuinely hates you, that is trying to tarnish your reputation. It makes it much more believable because there's a 2% chance that there's truth to what they're saying. So that is, in my opinion, the first step. Recognizing what is the thing that people actually see in me that is negative, that isn't as bad as they've made it out to be, that isn't as messed up as they've made it out to be, but is true. You take that You try to figure out how to better yourself, how to grow, how to understand yourself, recognizing that, that's part of life. That each and every single freaking one of us has been in a scenario where they are the bad guy, where they are the asshole, where they are the ones that didn't understand that they were doing wrong. And we couldn't see it because we're not as easy, black and white binary as people want to make the situation out to be. It's not. Most of the time, there's a lot of depth and complexity to interactions between people. And when somebody thinks they're right, they think they're right. Most villains are misunderstood because they have misunderstood life. So what I'm saying is, not to say that you're a villain, just saying that if you have some negative aspect that people are using against you, or that might be true about you, you first do for yourself without caring about them. What you do for yourself is you try to correct it, figure out how to grow from it, if there is anything to correct in the first place. But maybe there's just a crutch or a misuse or a misunderstanding that you need to grow from. And from then, you just do good to other people, one person at a time. And believe me, there are enough people out there, new people that you're going to meet, that will be your safety net, that will be your true friends, that will be your family and friends. So you don't even need to correct the close-knit communities of the past. If people have seen how good you are with others, even the ones that hated you from the past, I've had people that I've seen that in me. They've seen sides of me that are not sides that I'm very proud of. And to this day, I still hate myself. I cringe at myself. I wonder, what the fuck was I thinking? That was somebody else's wedding. Why did I have to make that about me? I can't believe I did this. I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I did this. And to this day, it haunts me. It sticks with me. Bad things that I've done. So in my head, I'm thinking, the new people that I meet, the new people that I meet, that I grow with, that actually see a new side of me, that I've been trying to do good with and good to, they redeem you. Because the people from the past will see a different you now. They will wonder, how the fuck is that person now has friends and stuff? And their brain can't compute it. And most people, like I said, the default person will think, you know what? I haven't seen them in a while. Maybe they're not what I thought they were. They're out there, they're doing this community service, they're helping out in charities. Maybe they're not who I thought they were. And they will give you a second chance. There's something really awesome about people. And most people overlook this fact. When you're famous, or you've attracted a lot of attention, it's true that human nature wants to take you down a notch. They want to see you fall. Even if you're not somebody successful, just somebody that's visible and you've had flaws. People, especially when those flaws are amplified by somebody that's out to get you, it's true, they want to see you fall. But what's stronger than that is the fact that, guess what? Most people like to see a redemption story. Most people want to fucking see Vader come back from the dark side. Most people like seeing bad guys that were misunderstood, or villains that were painted in the wrong way, see the error of their ways and now become the freaking, good guy. Because they bring with them the wisdom of the dark side. They're like, hey, don't go down that route. I understood what was wrong about myself. I understood what was wrong about that road. And now I'm back. I hope that was coherent an answer for you. All right, I got another question from Adil. Would you characterize Jay Leno as someone with extreme hate? He is an example of someone who didn't correct or address his approach to getting to where he is. Boy, are you talking specifically about the Conan issue or what? Because there's a lot of aspects to Jay Leno, man. With Jay Leno, I feel like he is somebody that probably did do good to his circle of people. So the people that knew him personally, that he helped get to the top, because I never heard of him being I never heard of him being an asshole to comics that, he took under his wing. as far as I know. But to be fair, I've not looked into this that much. But I can promise you that he wouldn't be getting recognition from certain people to this day if he hadn't been at least good in some regard or some respect. The problem, I think, with him is once he got into a position of power by doing that, both really, but mostly Coco. Okay, then I'm on the right track here. Yeah, he didn't address his approach to getting to where he was. I agree to that. Because he had power. He had a position of influence. He had all the opportunities in the world to do good with it. And let's say leave without leaving on a sour note. And instead he decided to take something that wasn't his. He reneged on a deal, reneged on an agreement, because technically what he did was completely fine, but they did fuck Coco out of his Tonight Show. It wasn't going to be the Tonight Show anymore if they pushed him into, which slot was it? Was it 11, I think? The Tonight Show's 10. Because he wanted to come back and he wanted to have his slot. But it wasn't the Tonight Show, it was just the Tonight Show's slot. And it tells you something when Conan O'Brien, thought that it was better for him to leave than keep the Tonight Show that wasn't the Tonight Show. Now, I don't know if Conan really believed in the heritage and the history of the Tonight Show and didn't want it to be spoiled in that way and he'd rather Leno have it, or that he just knew if they violated the contract he was going to get millions. Because Conan got a fuck ton of money from that. And he had a built-in audience that he could sell to any other network, which ended up being TBS. So Leno has managed, whether or not Conan is a victim here, which a lot of people say he was, specifically by the NBC producers, by the way. They're the real assholes. I don't know if he was a victim to Leno, because I don't think Leno had any personal beef with Conan. I don't think so. Because with years of them, kind of like leading into each other, it would have shown. There would have been something in the background between them. I don't think so. There was more going on between Leno and Letterman than Leno and Conan. But it was just the idea that Leno gamed the rules in his favor to get that slot. And the fact that the NBC executives kind of decided to go with it, that was the injustice. And that was where he should feel ashamed of himself. Because, dude, it's like a dad promising, his kid the reins to the company after 50 years with his kid doing everything he was told to do. And he worked his way up. He managed all these different, divisions and put in the hours and proved himself over and over again. And you gave him what you promised him, but it's not the real CEO position. It's like you told him, oh, yeah, it's CEO. But then you invented a new freaking rank and you called it Grand CEO. It's bullshit. You outplayed the game for your own sake and you don't want to admit it. So you're going to burn bridges that way. I think since then he's seen the error of his ways. I honestly do believe that. I think that Jay Leno's smarter and they just got to him. He was in retirement. He didn't want to retire. He felt like it's scary, bro. It's scary to retire and not have anything to do when he's the kind of guy that always used to do something. Respect to him, by the way. He was one of the few comedians that would go up on stage. It's not like he got the Tonight Show or any of those other shows and just never he stopped doing comedy. He kept going to mics. So I think he was just the kind of guy that didn't want to do nothing. Because he knew that he had nothing else to do. Like Seinfeld at least reinvented himself. Seinfeld went out and did Comedians in Cars. And even though his stand-up is not what it used to be, he still has his crowd. With Leno, I feel like he could still do the stand-up, and I'm sure he did. But he needed that routine. Because that lifestyle, the Tonight Show lifestyle, the show, the runners, the producers, everything that goes with it, that building, That's a life, man. Especially if you're living in LA. I'm sure he could have gotten his own show though. That's what a lot of people criticized him on. Is that he could 12:05. Yeah, that's right. That was the thing. It was like that was the joke at the time. That the Tonight Show was no longer the Tonight Show, it was the Tonight Tomorrow Show. That's right. I remember Conan saying that. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, it's weird because we both know he could have had his own show in any other network. ABC would have sorted him out. So I don't know. See, I'm contradicting myself. That is no different than the dinosaurs that I was mentioning in the Middle East before. The ones that don't move aside, don't give you the opportunity to maneuver and prove that the numbers are there for you to succeed. All right. That's a good one. Thanks, Adam. Doo-doo-doo. Right, so this is a question from Matruk. What matters most? What you like or what you're really like? What you like or what you're really like? What does that mean? I'm not sure of that question. If you're listening on this stream, clarify it. Tom Romansky says, cheese, melted or not. I'm not a big fan of cheese melted on anything. Not that I hate it. I'm just saying that I prefer cheese on its own. Like for some reason, when I mix cheese with other things, unless it's pasta, I think it's better as a dessert. Like a tidbit, an appetizer, like brie. I think it's a tough one, man. I thought that would be an easy one. It's not. Do. All right. We're still in question and answer time. If I've got one last one. Where am I? I think that's the last one. If Matruk clarifies his. If not, I'm moving on. All right. It's 9:08. So I can end this in about 20 more minutes, I'd say. I'll give you another minute. Depends on what kind of cheese. Okay, so you are listening. I guess it depends on the cheese, but I feel like the majority of times I just enjoy the cheese that's, dessert-like. Like blue cheese is awesome. I missed out on an opportunity to actually go into a cave where they make it in France. Fucked up. Fucked up bad. I want it to feel sophisticated. All right, so here's the last part of the show. This is I didn't want to reveal this one early on, and maybe I would have probably gotten more traction. But I've linked this to some of you. I call this a new segment. The what the fuck did I just watch? Oh, that's still up.
وَإِنَّ رَبَّكَ لَيَعْلَمُ مَا تُكِنُّ صُدُورُهُمْ وَمَا يُعْلِنُونَ وَمَا مِنْ غَائِبَةٍ فِي السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ إِلَّا فِي كِتَابٍ.
What the? Because this was on Instagram. I didn't know what I was watching, and there was something about it that caused me to fucking laugh for like 30 minutes straight. And because I don't have the audio. I'm hoping you guys have the audio. You can hear it. I'm sure you do. I can see it on the mixer. But first of all, I'm going to mute this. We're going to go back into the... Actually, I can't mute it. It's part of the beauty of it. Look. Quran. It's on a farm somewhere. Maybe in Wisconsin. I don't know. This is beautiful. And the dog is amputated. The poor little thing. Now, what was funny about this wasn't the fact that the dog had no limbs. was the fact that there was a contrast between the Quran and this happy-go-lucky dog. What is it about playing Quran at the back of things that are supposed to be sad that don't make it necessarily sad? I mean, what the fuck is going on? Was this necessary as a what is this message supposed to be? The dog is happy. Why did you have to turn this into something that's sad? He looks happy. Look at him. He's the happiest dog in the world. There's nothing wrong with him. And can you imagine if this is like whoever put this up in I don't know, Alabama, Wisconsin, wherever the hell this farm is, and they're just thinking, oh, Scruffy, look, we found you on the internet. Oh, fuck. Marsha doesn't make an nicest video of our dog. Gruffy or Fluffy, whatever his freaking name is just been a part. Like, for them, it just seems off. They just saw ISIS make a video for them. They don't know any different. They have no clue what the hell they're watching right now. Somebody just put up an audio of Quran on their Instagram, I guess, story that was supposed to be uplifting and joyful, and somebody turned it into something else. And from their perspective, they think this is some jihadi fatwa on their dog. Why would you do this? Why would you do this?
وَإِنَّ رَبَّكَ لَيَعْلَمُ مَا تُكِنُّ صُدُورُهُمْ وَمَا يُعْلِنُونَ وَمَا مِنْ غَائِبَةٍ
This is a dog. I'm Mushahid. What? That is it. All right. What are your comments on this? That is crazy. I don't understand the point of this. I think somebody recently sent a video. There's a lot of the Islamic fatwa style stuff on there that goes on WhatsApp groups, and this one was I think it was the one Abdullah linked with them making fun of the cleric that was talking about all the conspiracy theories, the religious conspiracy theories, the subsect of conspiracy theories that only exist in the Middle East regarding certain things, and we know them very well. The rest of the world doesn't know them. For example, Coca-Cola. If you put Coca-Cola against the mirror, it apparently spells out La Mecca La Muhammad, which it doesn't. And if it did, you're probably drunk in the first place, something you shouldn't be doing, or you're high on some shit that you shouldn't be doing. And the other one was Pepsi. What was it? Pepsi was pay every cent. So pay every cent, people, something. And I couldn't help but notice that when he said cent, dude, cent is spelt with an S, a C, not an S. Where do they find these from? It's like it's the hardcore stretch. I mean, who is working in these graphic design departments that's coming up with this? Do you know what I mean? Like somebody in Pepsi's going, yes, this would be the perfect plan. I don't know why he's Arab as well. Maybe he's a traitor. He's shifted himself. This will be the perfect plan. I can't believe this. I want to do another stand-up set about conspiracy theories from the Arab world. All right. Matruk says, sorry, what I meant was, do characters transcend your interests or vice versa? Do characters transcend your interests or vice versa? What does that mean? See, you managed to kind of confuse me again. Do characters transcend your interest or vice versa? I'm assuming what you like or what you really like. If I'm understanding this correctly, you mean like, are you your interests? Are you what you're into? And if that's what you're talking about, then, bro, honestly, I don't know. Sometimes sometimes there are moments where you feel like the label that you identify yourself as stems from your experiences, right? And if your experiences are built on things that you've consumed, like music, movies, video games, experiences like, you went fishing all the time with your dad, then some of those experiences definitely mold and shape you into a certain type of person and give you an identity. I'm hoping that's what you meant. I think that it does in the long term. Your character does transcend your interests. And by that I mean that your character is built from your interests, from the fishing, from the movies, from the all the stuff, but there's also the things that you're experiencing that go beyond just that. So a lot of your experiences are built from things like relationships, bonds that you have with other people, which is basically relationships. I just redundant. The bonds I said with other people, your relations, your trials, and by that I mean your challenges, like whether or not you're honest, how many times you've lied, how many times have you stuck up for yourself or stuck up for other people, how many times have you, done the right thing when it mattered instead of the right thing when it was easy. Did you do it when it was hard? Or did you do it when it was easy for anybody to do? And these are like your values as well, what you believe in. And these values and come from many experiences. Some of them come from your travel, from the people you meet along the way, from the superficial relationships you have to the deeper ones that you have. And there's a lot of moments in life I feel like that when you forget that it's a culmination of everything. It's an amalgamation of everything. You've got your movies, your things that affect you in a certain way. They affect your humor. They affect the colors that you're attracted to. You're like, oh, I always love blue, man. Blue's been my shit. But it doesn't mean that aquamarine is not going to be your shit in 20 years. I don't know why that specifically. I think I'm leaning towards it because of my minis at the moment, but it's a different story. The point is that your identity and who you are, your character, feeds off of those things, your interests, but it's also feeding off of all these other things. Sometimes these other things are greater than just those things because you've experienced much more out of life from doing these other things. That's why some people talk about, you look at Joe Rogan, he talks about mushrooms all the time, or, any kind of psychedelic experience, kind of elevating the way he thinks, elevating and expanding his mind and seeing things that are outside of just what his own mundane life was. And that's the same for a lot of people and isn't just, for example, psychedelics. The first time you're in a relationship with a girl does that. The first time you jizz, it does that. The first time you think you jizzed and you broke your dick, you're like, oh fuck, did I break it? It's leaking! Did I break my dick? These kinds of moments, they have a profound a profound connection to all other things you've gone through. So once they're merging together into this bullshit this new form of yourself, it's kind of like what I call the constant ever, you're constantly shattering yourself, constantly breaking your identity apart because of some massive new experience that you've had. Imagine your identity as like this mirror that's fully formed, right? And every time you add something to the reflection, you're like, hey, here's this mask that represents all the metal that I'm into. Here's this. Every time that you overwhelm it, it shatters. And that's when we have these profound life moments. These moments where we're like, who the fuck am I? What does it even mean to be this? What am I without my job in The Tonight Show, for example? It's probably a moment Leno had, right? Once you have these profound, life-shattering moments, you have a kid for the first time. That breaks the mirror apart, but then it reforms itself. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes. You're a new you. You kind of turn into this new person all of a sudden, and you have a profound new version of yourself that is, like I said, an amalgamation of everything you've gone through. So when you're at 15, 16, you don't have a lot of experiences. And that's why it's so impactful the first time you see a Tarantino movie. It's so impactful the first time you listen to Zeppelin. The first time you might get high. The first time you talk to a girl. It's so profound because it's your first time experiencing things, and these things are already pretty intense anyway. Like if you experienced them at 40 and 30, these things would still have a profound impact on you because you'd be like, whoa, I've never seen this shit before. I've never experienced this before. And that's why you kind of like, you attach yourself to those first profound moments. And you build your personality and your identity based off of those earliest experiences. Until you realize that there are a lot of things out there. And things that are just as powerful, but not necessarily as profound. The lessons are much more subtle. And over time, you kind of like want to grasp at those smaller things more. At first, you're like, fuck them. Who needs that kind of subtlety? You just want things that are impactful, strong, loud. But then you realize over time that the power comes from, the devil being in the details. And you start to look after these small nuances and these little threads that connect things and ideas together and connect genres and connect different creative, ventures. Once you kind of have a handle on that, that's when you enter the world of mastering a new experience. And I feel like that's what a lot of people will go through in their later years between 30 and 40, is trying to always grasp at those smaller things. Because you've mostly experienced most of the profound ones. You'll keep having them. I'm not saying they're going to stop, but the frequency of them throughout your journey of life will tend to get smaller and smaller unless you're really putting yourself out there. And you're one of these people that just found out you're about to die in two months. And that's when you're like, I'm jumping off of a plane. I'm going to do stand-up. I'm going to, have sex with a monkey. Oh, look, I'm the man who invented AIDS. Probably a profound moment. We talk shit about the guy, but maybe it was a profound moment for humanity, The first guy that found AIDS. What was I going to say? Yeah. These things are greater than just the character that you lock yourself into in the first 20 minutes of your life. And that is, the first 20 years, basically. And if you lock onto them too hard, and you just restrict yourself too much because you're attached to an identity and a label, and maybe other people in your life, people that are close to you, people in a community or whatever it is, they've made you feel like that if you expand beyond that, somehow you're a traitor to your identity, which is bullshit, because all the best people in the world expand and grow. And a lot of times, you run into a Yoko Ono. Might be a person, might be a moment, might be a choice. But a lot of other times, if you survive the Yoko Onos and you keep experiencing, it is better for you anyway in the long run. Because you become more of a human. And you tend to be much more fleshed out in your capabilities and your understanding and your experiences. And then your challenge is, especially if you're selling a product, if you're trying to put yourself out there as far as like success, I want to run this, or I want to sell myself, or I want to sell an image of myself, whatever it is that you're doing, then you have to be smart about how you reinvent yourself, because you've changed. Whether you like it or not, you've changed over the years. Or the people that used to watch you have changed. The people that used to enjoy you for you have changed. And that's why you see a bunch of, creatives or big name personalities. They figure out how to kind of change alongside their audience and the people that they cater to. That's if that's your thing. If you are catering to an audience, or you want to, create something that you've put out there for a specific community or fans of yours. But if this is just about your own personal journey, which most people will tell you that should come first. And that's why there's a lot of people that we love, people that are amazing writers, or, Salinger or any other creative types, that they do their big, they make their hit albums, or their amazing music, or their amazing stories, and they continue life. Because what was most important to them was the journey of themselves, not the fact that they made it big. Does that make sense? So that's why they fall off the map, and you're like, hey, what the fuck ever happened to that guy? They continued living. They grew out of that. Maybe they grew into something else that they like. Doesn't mean that experience is wasted. They probably, if they're smart, they've kept their money. They didn't blow it on hookers and pot. Like Charlie Sheen. Or, fucking apes. I don't know. It's Charlie Sheen. AIDS. There you go. Managed to bring it full circle back again. Don't know why I'm playing with this. Yeah, I don't think I'm scraping the bucket at this point. I hope that answers the question, bro. I feel like I'm just talking to myself at this point. Not really getting into a... Last time I ended with a rant. Now the rants have kind of like been spread all throughout the episode. Do. Oh, I'm so gonna get taken out of context with this. You know what I mean? I love it. I really love it. Okay, guys. I think that's all I got. I'm not seeing any more questions on the gram. The Instagrams. Do. Alright, so here's what I'm going to do. I've already talked to Anrami, and they have made sure I've sent them the audio file. They're going to be uploading the one I mentioned earlier, the Bedouin Banter number 15. It's the one with Abuki. No, 15 is the one that we couldn't upload because it was terrible audio. So it's number 16 with Abuki. That's going to be up on audio with Anrami. I know it's been up on iTunes and on Spotify. So if you have been listening to Anrami, thank you anyway. I know it's free, you cheap bastards. But yes, you can listen to it also on iTunes and on Spotify. If it's ever not working there, then go to those, because those don't require, humans that are not actually humans to interject and do something after, 2 weeks of them pretending to be humans. If it isn't working, you can always check out, as I said, the YouTube one. If you have any questions, please feed them back to us. Let us know. Follow us on Instagram. That's Bedouin Banter. Please give us a share, follow, like, subscribe. Hit the notification bell. If you ever want to know whenever something's gone up, you hit that bell, it will actually tell you. I really do appreciate it. And let people know. People that are interested in finding out about the show, or want to listen to something that is, much more local and has a bit of diverse thinking going on, then let them know about it. That's all I can ask, guys. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. And the second edition of Bedouin Ranter, where I have nothing else to do besides talk to you in a way that I talk to myself about most of the time. All right, guys. You have a good night. Enjoy. I'm going to go have some dinner. Bye.